Ho, ho, ho. Merry, wait a minute. Happy holidays. It's the early present you've all been waiting for. Over the last couple of weeks, we have spent countless hours poring over new builds, making video after video of everything we've tried. You've seen them on YouTube. We've done it on stream, off stream, AP, AD, attack speed, you name it, we've tried it. Trust me, my win rate has suffered greatly. X motherfucking D. We've spoke with challenger players, we've done the math on items, analyzed passives, and gobbled up as much knowledge as we possibly could. And we put in all this effort to come to this defining moment. I present to you the ultimate Preseason 11 guide for Ivern. That's right, your pal Mossy is back, and this is what you should be doing in your solo queue games with Ivern. But first, in honor of this momentous event, I think we should do something a little special. Let me think. What can we do? Do you have any ideas, Bruce the Spruce? Our Twitch community Christmas tree? How about I put something special under the Christmas tree for 3 of our lucky YouTube subscribers? That's right, we are going to be doing an Elderwood skin giveaway. From right now until December 22nd, we are holding a contest for 3 copies of the Elderwood Ivern skin. You heard that right, folks, 3 copies. All you have to do to enter this giveaway is subscribe to my YouTube channel right below the video here, hit that bell, and put a comment on this video with your region and your favorite Ivern quote. It can be any of them. I do not care. My favorite color is spring. Don't trust butterflies, whatever you guys want. If this video gets 300 thumbs up, I will up the giveaway to 5 skins. So make sure you hit that like button, hit that sub button. The contest is open to NA, EU West, Brazil, Latin America North, and Latin America South. Now, without further ado, let's jump into the guide. When going through these items, I'm going to be looking at them through the lens of patch 10.25. Obviously, Ivern got a bunch of buffs in this patch, and I'm going to take the assumption that you are able to Google what the item does if you don't know that already. In the effort of time, I'm not going to explain every single item to you. If you do have questions about that, you can leave them in the comments, or you can obviously go to Google. All right, part 1 of our ultimate guide for Ivern. I thought I'd put together a tier list of what I think are the best mythic items. Let's jump into it here. You'll see in the D tier, I have Frostfire Gauntlet and Everfrost. Now, why are these in D tier? Everfrost passive, sure, it does give you a stun, but the build path is very bad, and you have to misposition Ivern in order to properly use this item. Despite it having a lot of AP, I just don't think it's very good on Ivern. And Frostfire Gauntlet can be fun, but tank mythics are really just not not very good on Ivern. You're spending way too much gold to get resistances when Ivern doesn't really want resistances. In the C tier, we have Riftmaker, we have Shirelli's Battle Song, and we have Hextech Protobelt. I think Protobelt's probably the best in this tier. It lets you dodge, it lets you engage, it lets you speed up towards people. But again, the build paths are just not very good, and I don't think it's optimal on Ivern. Shirelli's Battle Song is just way too weak of an item overall, doesn't give you the proper stats, and it's just not good. Now, in the B tier, you might have a little bit of a surprise here. We have Imperial Mandate, Locket of the Iron Solari, Night Harvester, and Luden's Echo. Night Harvester and Luden's you can build if you're super far ahead, just for some extra burst damage, but in most of your games, it's definitely not necessary. They're very expensive items, and that you have to build stats you don't really want all that much. Locket of the Iron Solari no longer scales with HP, so it doesn't have any synergy with other items you'd build like Redemption, and the shielding is just not enough to counteract the actual damage that's in the game right now. I think it's just a weak item, doesn't give you enough stats, and the passive is not good enough to justify. And we have Imperial Mandate here in the B tier. I don't think relying on your teammates for damage is very good, and we'll definitely talk more about this one a little bit later. In the A tier, we have an exciting one, Liandry's Anguish. This item's actually pretty good on Ivern. If the enemy team has 2 or 3 tanks, the burn damage from this can be monumental in a team fight. It also gives you ability haste, so it's actually a very good item on Ivern. I like to build it second sometimes if they do have tanks. But the granddaddy of this tier list is S tier, of course. You'll see the very first item there, I put Cosmic Drive. Cosmic Drive is the best item on Ivern. It's not close, and in a lot of games, if you do start snowballing, you don't even need to build a Mythic at all. You can just go pure AP with Medjai's and Deathcap and most likely close out the game. If you do want to build a Mythic, the very best Mythic on Ivern is of course Moonstone Renewer. Ivern is maybe the absolute best user of Moonstone in the game. It's a very cheap support item, and it definitely is amazing on Ivern. Part 2, Rune Choices. Rune choices are very interesting in Season 11 and in this preseason, and I think they're more important than ever. In my opinion, the most optimal rune set for this preseason is Summon Aery, and I usually go Summon Aery like 99% of my game. I really don't see a reason to go any other keystones. Glacial got gutted and Guardian's just not as strong. The sorcery tree is the best tree, so Summon Aery allows you access to that, allows you to get haste and water walking and all of those amazing things. Aery also helps you with not only shielding, but also skirmishing. So it's both a defensive and offensive rune. And it has a spammable cooldown that you can proc multiple times in any skirmish. Guardian, on the other hand, is much weaker because it's very easy to waste, to accidentally proc. It randomly procs sometimes. It has a much longer cooldown, in some cases like 40 seconds. And the build tree is just not as strong as Aery. Especially since Ivern scales off of AP, the sorcery tree just helps Ivern a lot more than the defensive stats of the resolve tree. The third keystone that used to be viable on Ivern was Glacial, but Glacial's really been gutted this patch. They removed a bunch of the items that used to be easy to proc it, like Twin Shadows, and it really was just a fun troll way to play anyway. With the sorcery tree, you're gonna take Nimbus Cloak for the movement speed on your flash, as well as now you can use your smite more often to proc Nimbus even more times. Transcendence is going to give you a nice boost of early haste, and Water Walking is going to help you with river control and giving you extra damage for those level 3 crab fights, as well as zooming around the river for various ganks. Now, the secondary runes is when it gets a lot more interesting, and there's been a lot of debate about what are the best secondary runes. Debate no more. The answer is definitive. The best tree for secondary runes is the inspiration tree. It's always been the inspiration tree, and that is not changing this time. Futures Market and Cosmic Insight are back in a big way, and they're even better than ever. Season 11 is all about item and item breakpoints. It's kind of like TFT in that way. You get a lot stronger when you get your items. Futures market is crucial on Ivern because Ivern's gold income is very inconsistent. He's a low econ jungler, right? One game you might be super fed and you have a ton of gold. Cool. But majority of the time what happens is either the enemy takes a few of your camps, your own teammates start taking your camps, and you really do become that low econ jungler where instead of trying to get the kills for yourself, you're trying to give the gold over to your teammates and enable them to carry. That is really what we mean by a low econ jungler. You need to do a lot with a very little amount of gold. It's very support-like. 1 item power spikes, 2 item power spikes, completing your core items. Futures market allows you to hit these breakpoints faster and keep up with your opponents who are most likely ahead of you in gold because they have access to Krugs. They're taking kills for themselves. They're not low econ junglers. A word of caution though, don't spam your futures market because it costs you 50 gold every time you want to use it. You should only be using this on important item purchases, and we'll definitely be talking about that a little bit more later on. Now, a lot of people have been spamming me and saying, Cosmic Insight sucks now, it doesn't give you ability haste, it's garbage, why do you take it? And I would say to that, wrong. It's better than ever. For Cosmic Insight, Ivern is the most reliant character on Smite in the game. He literally needs it to function with the way his passive works. If your smite cooldown is too long, you're susceptible to invades, you can get vertical jungled and not have any counter action, you might lose a bunch of your camps along the way, and you'll be unable to contest neutral objectives like dragon and scuttle crabs and herald. Like if you're always forced to smite your blue but you don't have Cosmic Insight, now your smite isn't available for the dragon fight or to get the scuttle crab or to invade and steal the enemy blue. Now more than ever, it is imperative to have the lowest possible smite cooldown and ensure you are getting enough of your camps to stay relevant in the game. Once you lose your jungle prio and you lose your ward line and you lose your map pressure, you lose your access to your camps and your ability to generate gold. If that happens, it's probably GG. But a secondary benefit to Cosmic Insight is thanks to the item buffs and Ivern changes. People are always trying to assassinate you. They always want to kill you. They always want to get you, right? But Cosmic Insight also lowers your flash cooldown. What does that mean for Ivern? It's easier to stay alive. You can make plays around your flash a lot easier, and it's harder for the enemy team to track what your flash timer actually is. These are the optimal runes for Ivern in preseason, but I have seen some experimentation with others, so I want to give my comments on those as well. Going Resolve Tree secondary can be decent. You can get Font of Life and Revitalize. That's going to give you extra Moonstone healing. It's going to give you extra survivability, and it can definitely help your team, but I really feel like this is best for when you play Ivern as support as opposed to in the jungle. As support, you're much less reliant on your cooldowns for your summoner spells because you don't have smite, right? So in this way, it's a lot better for laning when you're support as opposed to jungling. It's just not as good as Cosmic Insight and Futures Market in the jungle. I've also seen any combination of Eyeball Collector, Zombie Ward, Relentless Pursuit, or Ingenious Hunter, but these do not scale as well into the late game as Cosmic Insight and Futures. And chasing objectives and fights early on with the movement speed is really not an efficient way to play Ivern. You want to come into the game with a game plan. You would only take Relentless Hunter, for example, if you're trying to bail out your teammates. But if you're not playing with a game plan and you're just reacting to the enemy all the time, you are really not playing Ivern optimally. Part 3. Early game items. Now you're going to see on the infographic here the 5 early game items you need to prioritize in your solo queue game. The first one is Blue Smite versus Red Smite. Which jungle item should you pick? For Ivern, the Blue Smite is almost always better. It helps you have burst damage, it helps you with kiting, it helps you run away from people stronger than you by stealing their mobility, and it helps you with skirmishing and slowing your enemies. Even versus something like a Master Yi, the Red Smite damage reduction just doesn't do enough to to stop him from killing you. It's better to make yourself faster, wait on his ult and alpha strike, smite him with the blue so he is slowed, and then run away from him and kite him as far as you can. The longer it takes Yi to catch you and kill you, the better it is for you. I take the blue smite almost 99% of all games. The second item is of course refillable potion. It's required for sustain. It's better than your potions because you get to keep it for the whole early game. Ivern needs to be topped up in the jungle early on because his passive does take a lot of health from him. So this is a very good, valuable item. And of course, you always want to take the yellow trinket right at the start of the game. You want to run out, use your trinket to ward for invades or to find out where the enemy jungler is. You want to recall base, swap over to the red sweeper trinket, which is going to help you gank more effectively and clear out vision. And that's going to have a much lower cooldown. So that's what we mean by the trinket trick. When you are recalling, you want to do that at the beginning of every game. Okay, moving over to your first back, what you want to be prioritizing is Ionian Boots of Lucidity, Dark Seal, and a red control ward. To get all three of these items, it is okay to dip into futures market because if you can get all three of them on your first back, you are quite strong. If you can't afford them all, prioritize the boots first and then get your Dark Seal on your second back. Now, why do we want Dark Seal? Dark Seal immediately gives us 15 AP and health. It's an amazing early game item. It has a lot of strength and it's very easy for Ivern to stack. It builds into Medjai's, which counts as a legendary item, and it's the cheapest AP you can get in the game. At 0 stacks, the item is 123% gold efficient. Each stack increases that efficiency by 31%. So even if your Dark Seal has 0 stacks, it is still providing you gold efficient value that is perfect for an AP based low econ jungler in the early game. You can keep it for the whole game if you want. You don't even need to upgrade it to Medjai's. You can also sell it once you need that slot for an item. Obviously, you want a pink ward to deny invades and control vision and contest objectives. And lastly, you want Boots of Lucidity. This is going to give you early ability haste, early summoner spell haste. Again, talking about that smite cooldown, these boots go up way in priority now that they help your smite cooldown as well. And they provide you with a lot of skirmishing power because you don't lose your movement speed bonuses when you get hit by an ability. Don't take my word for it though. Historical Mossy is going to teach you from a video that we made a little while back. You will notice when talking about our first back items we want to buy, I only made mention to CDR boots, not mobility boots. That is because I believe CDR boots are the optimal way to play Ivern. With CDR boots, they only cost 900 gold, while Mobies cost 1000 gold. This is more efficient for Ivern and allows us to have a better first back timing. CDR boots grant 45 flat movement speed, while Mobies grant 25 flat movement speed and 115 flat movement speed out of combat. While this does allow you to go to multiple lanes quite quickly and react to the enemy jungler, what this means is when you're in a scrimmage or you're fighting the enemy jungler, you only will be fighting with 25 flat movement speed. Because Ivern has one of the lowest base movement speeds in the game, it makes it impossible to kite out melee type junglers and bruiser type junglers, and you will end up losing many of the trades for this reason. Getting earlier CDR in the game allows us to spam our abilities easier and gives us more power over objectives, more power in the 2v2s, helps us shield our allies more quickly during skirmishes early on in the game, and just helps us have more agency. Plus, because we don't lose that movement speed with Lucidity boots, we're able to kite out the enemy jungler and use our ranged auto attacks and our bonus from our bushes to our advantage. Lucidity boots have the extra bonus of giving us 10% summoner spell cooldown reduction, which synergizes really well with Cosmic Insight, the rune. Cosmic Insight is going to give you 5% summoner spell cooldown, which directly translates to Flash and Smite, while with the CDR boots, now your Smite cooldown is 15% reduced, which helps you invade better, it helps you smite objectives better, helps you farm better. It's also very good in tough matchups where you're constantly being pressured by the enemy jungler. You will have your smite up that much more, and it will allow you to secure your own buffs very quickly without having to wait for the passive. If the enemy jungler ever catches you off guard and you have Moby Boots, you're going to lose all of your movement speed bonus, and it's going to be almost impossible to escape the invade. But with CDR boots, even though you're kiting that jungler out and you're trying to get away and you're dealing damage back, you're going to have your 45 movement speed the entire time. In my opinion, CDR boots are the proactive boots that you want to go when you're trying to control tempo, when you're trying to put pressure on the enemy jungler, when you're trying to win skirmishes and fight for objectives. While Moby boots are the kind of boots that you're going to get when you're being very reactive to what the enemy jungler is doing. You're chasing lanes you're late to, you're not really sure what play you want to make. Instead, you're just making the chase play and trying to bail your teammates out of plays instead of being at the right place at the right time. And you really fall into the trap of reacting to the enemy jungler instead of making your own play that you want to make. So for these reasons, this is why I believe CDR boots are better than Moby boots for Ivern. It gives us back the agency that we need when we're a supportive style jungler. One of 2 parts, and I'm going to continue editing the rest of it before my computer explodes. If you guys like the kind of content we do on this channel, hit that like button, hit that sub button. We've been theory crafting Ivern builds for weeks now. If you want to get involved in the process and come and hang out with us a little bit, you can always find us twitch.tv/MossyElder, Monday, Wednesday, Friday at 7 p.m. PST. And I hope to see you guys there. Have a sunny day, saplings. We'll see you in the next one.
Oh, no!